One of the schools I observed was Kenley Elementary, which is the Title I school. The area that surrounded Kenley Elementary wasn't the nicest area because it was run down and it seemed like it was in a low-income area. I felt this because while driving on the road down to Kenley, the houses were run down and they almost seemed abandoned. The school also had a fence around the outdoor area with a barbed wire fence. Mrs. Smith was the classroom I observed at Kenley, which was a third-grade classroom. When I arrived, she was very friendly to me, but she was extremely strict with her students. The students listened to what Mrs. Smith said, but I feel like it was out of fear instead of a mutual respect. Mrs. Smith said, "I try to teach my students respectful things that involve things outside of the classroom, like always having your shirt tucked in and having your shoes tied." She was very obedient. Kenley was very diverse, and I feel that they really had a pluralistic environment because not only was each race represented in the school, but they all had a mutual respect for each race. The lesson plan that day was specifically FCAT prep, which I feel wasn't done to the best of Mrs. Smith's abilities. She had them do a writing prompt, which they also had to do in the beginning of the week. She was saying each child's name and was yelling out each student's scores for the rest of the class to hear, which I feel like the students didn't enjoy that because if they scored poorly, they were embarrassed of their score. A score of 1 is the lowest a child could get, and when a child did get a 1, she asked them why, almost yelling at them, instead of telling them how they could improve their scores. Mrs. Smith was also teaching how to add 3-digit numbers, which she said will be on the FCAT exam. None of her students were able to add any of the problems she gave out to them on their handout. When she was asking them for their answers, none of them could give her one. Instead of teaching the class again, she started yelling at them and was asking them if they were drunk or high. That to me is an extremely inappropriate response, not only to third graders, but students everywhere, no matter what age they are. Kenley's mission statement, displayed as soon as you walk in through the main office, is DRIVE, which stands for diversity, respect, integrity, values, and enthusiasm, which create lifelong learners able to meet the challenge of the future. When observing Mrs. Smith's classroom, I don't feel like the mission statement was fully expressed because she was just giving negative outlooks to her students, which will not create them to be lifelong learners able to meet the challenges of their future. They didn't seem excited to be there either. They just felt like they had to be there, which shouldn't be the case, especially in third grade. I really feel that Kenley Elementary expects a multicultural environment. However, my expectations weren't met when it came to teacher-student relationships. Mrs. Smith was very nice to me, but I felt that the students weren't free to express their ideas and opinions. I felt that Mrs. Smith wasn't professional and used inappropriate language with her third grade class. However, this observation experience has taught me how to not act in front of my students. I want to be an educator because it's something I have a passion for, and it is a career I would do even if I wasn't getting paid. While observing Mrs. Smith, it made me upset because I feel she no longer had the passion to be a teacher because she was just yelling at her students and not actually educating them. Her behavior, attitude, and ethics really surprised me because I feel when educating students at such a young age, the way she did makes the students have a negative outlook towards their education, whether it's a multicultural one or not.